Welcome back. It's Star Wars Minute, the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
I'm Patrick Cotnoir from the George Lucas Talk Show.
And I'm Connor Ratliff, also from the George Lucas Talk Show and the podcast Dead Eyes.
Welcome back, you two.
Hi.
I was going to say you guys, but it rhymed with Dead Eyes, and I didn't want to lock us into a rhyming thing right off the bat.
Oh, yeah, because we'd have to keep doing it.
Yeah. So
all the way through
the whole week would be rhyming.
Wow. That's what I surmise.
Oh yeah, glad we got that out of our system, Nathy. But yeah, thanks for coming on for Solo, a Star Wars party. We're slightly over. We're 36 minutes into this thing. There we go. We're at minute 36. It's minute 36 starts with Viper Droids heading Beckett's way, and it ends with Beckett way over his head against empty nest. So
Empty nest.
The of course, I don't know if it's is it the Gen X thing in me? But as soon as she said Viper Droids headed your way, I thought to myself, like, step away from the base. This base is protected by Viper. Like, it should have had the little electronic voice warning them.
Is that a RoboCop reference?
No, it is a car alarm reference.
Oh, I know. You got me on that one. You stumped me.
It's because you're a couple years older than me, so you weren't boosting cars at the same time that I was. I was, out on the streets.
Yeah, I'm more of a low jack generation.
Yeah,
guy.
there you go.
Now, have they ever? Are these are different from the Empire probe droids? They're like slightly different, right?
Yeah, they're a bit
Yes.
like cubier, not cube, like squarer looking kind of.
Yeah,
They're more like
they're-
cylindrical. Cylindrical. That's the word I'm looking for.
They're a little bit, they're still part of that sort of like Portuguese man of war looking sort
Yeah.
of droid, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
big
That's
chunky
the
body
basic.
with dangly legs hanging underneath.
Yeah.
Right.
And these ones we know, I guess, I was going to say these ones we see can take a punch because she shoots at them and stuff,
Sure.
and they don't, yeah, you're right, her, but yeah, and they don't self-destruct, unlike our other probe droid friend.
Right. Although one of them goes down pretty quickly. She's like, oh, Viper Droids, and shoots one, and it just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't
Yeah.
seem that well armored.
Alex, don't stand up for them too hard. They go down pretty quickly still.
Well, let
Whose
me ask
side
you
are
a
on,
question.
Alex?
Hey, either way, man, it's fine with me. That's my Benicio del Toro impression, in case
Oh,
you
there
can
you
tell.
go. I missed it.
Do the droids? So the droids come out of their little hideout, responding to the fact that they tripped some alarm or something. Not the guys summoning them who were shooting at them earlier. And they just go right by Val. Do they not see Val or not detect Val? Or are they just like, well, our priority is getting to where the train is, not a life form that we see just kind of hanging out here? What do you guys think?
I think
Yeah, that
they're
makes
saying
sense. So there's some sort of priority at work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Only
I
when
think
she
they
starts
also
shooting
realize-
do they be like, hey.
They also realize it's too early in the movie to get rid of Val, and they shouldn't really go after her. You know, it feels like we just met Val. Go after
Barely.
She kind of
Yeah.
sealed her own fate then, is what you're saying. If
I
she
know.
just...
I'm not blaming her,
Well-
but it seems like it.
Yeah.
This is where, this is where it pays off. For the past couple of weeks, I've been kind of hinting that I think it's possible that Val fakes her own death to get away from Beckett and his crew here. She's sick of a life of crime. I've been positing that, but by the end of the week, we're gonna have to do a little bit of mental gymnastics to really
And
nail it
physical
home.
gymnastics
I
for
was
her.
gonna say-
Physical gymnastics, yeah.
I want to push back on this because I think if there's one thing we know about Star Wars, it's when a character appears to be dead, they stay dead.
Yeah, it's always,
Like
it
that's
would be bucking
that's
the
the
system.
that's the golden rule in Star Wars. Like if you think a character just died, they're
They're
probably
gone
dead.
for good, yeah.
That's the last we're gonna see of them.
Yeah.
That's what they remember that in that the other movie they say everybody's really gone. They're like,
Yeah.
death is forever.
Somehow no one returned.
Exactly.
That's what they, yeah.
But yeah, so we'll put this in the category. She's getting their attention not only to try to distract them from going to the train, the convey X, where the action is happening, but she's also setting herself up. She's like, all right, they'll this way. I'll have them set up so they're pinning me down, and I can make my escape and make it a big deal. She's got it all planned out. She's a better strategist, perhaps, than Beckett.
Yeah, it's very convenient that she's off by herself. So she didn't even really have to wait for the Viper droids if she was trying to fake her own death. She could have just said, "Oh no, Viper droids are here," and then they're like, "What's going on?" Over the radio, they can't see what's going on, and then she just blows it up and runs off with the coaxium. Cuts back to her on Ryza, all waiting and being, smoking a big cigar with Walt.
Wald. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming she had a backup plan for how to, being like, oh, the detonator's jammed and it won't work. Somebody's got to do it manually. Then she had a plan on how to do it. But then once they tripped the sensor and the Viper droids are on the way, she's like, oh, perfect. Like, this will be my cover. I'll set it up. I'll keep them over here near me, and then boom, and I'm out.
Yeah.
But it just feels like there's no way she gets out of this even normally. You know what I mean? Like, when she's out there, she's so far out there.
We should save this for later in the week. We can talk about her actual.
Sorry to bring it up, but I wanted it to be on all your minds while we go through this.
Okay.
Yeah.
She alerted Enfys Nest that there was going to be a heist. That's how
maybe
Enfys Nest knew to come.
She's leaving Beckett's gang to join Enfys Nest's gang, so that's what she called them. And then, all right, well, I'm going to add that to the puzzle later.
Okay.
I mean, to some extent, we watch so many, thrilling, adventurous things happen in movies that I think we sometimes take for granted. That if I simply, even if you removed every aspect of danger, you remove the Viper droids, you remove the train wreck, if you just placed me on something that is as high up in the air as what she's on right now, it would be the worst thing that had ever happened to me. Like, if someone's just like, figure out a way down from here. No enemies, no Empire, no nothing, no one's trying to kill you. It's so terrifying. But when you're watching a movie, you're just like, yeah, she can handle this. She's in a, she knows what she's doing. But, if you put me in a 3-story building that had no way of getting downstairs, or I was just on top of something that high, I'd be like, I don't know what to do.
Connor, I think you and I are very similar in that I feel like we would both probably just give up.
Yeah. Meaning you would you would live out your days on top of that thing, or you would jump off?
I would live out my one day and then probably jump off.
I feel like Robinson it. See what you can eat. Find some things to make shelter.
So high off the ground. Like, and I feel like 99% of people who watch it probably feel like it's weirdly no big deal. Like, they know what they're doing. They live in the Star Wars universe. It's a really big deal.
It would have been great if there was skeletons all there of other people who had been stranded there before.
There probably are.
Oshi the bounty hunter. Is that his name? Oshi? No.
Ochi.
Ochi
Festoon?
Yeah, Festoon.
Ochi Festoon, yeah.
I would have liked one quick pan down to just where does someone fall if they fall off these things? And just see just so many bones.
You want that Indiana Jones, there has to be alligators down there too, because the fall wouldn't be enough. Yeah. There has to be alligators down there.
Space alligators. Yeah.
With the jetpacks. Well, I don't know how to transition to this, but we could figure it out. But my next note is sizzling Rio flesh.
Sizzling Rio flesh.
Yes, sizzling Rio flesh. Which when you order it, they just bring it straight to the table like that, and it's everybody in the restaurant looks like, ooh.
I was gonna ask, is this something they serve at Galaxy's Edge?
It's funny because Rio sounds like Rio Grande, so it does almost sound like a cut of steak or something. Sizzling Rio flesh.
Right. Also, for those of you out there who are forming bands, great name for a band.
Now this is strangely good timing because Connor and I did just come back from Galaxy's Edge.
That's right.
We were just there. Connor had never been. But watching this, I was like, oh, this train ride would make such a good ride. Like, it'd be such a fun ride. But the idea of them having 2 coaxium-based rides seems crazy. It doesn't feel like it will ever happen or anything like that. But
wait, we went before the Rebellion.
The Millennium Falcon ride.
Is that coaxium-based?
You're transporting coaxium.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
We did that, but I was like a frightened puppy, and then my hands were over my eyes and ears the whole time. I was
Sure.
It reminds me of
Coaxium on, Coaxium off.
right.
It reminds me of those early days of Disney where the Sinclair Oil Company sponsored half of their exhibits. It's like the Coaxium, Coaxium, the hyperfuel for the 21st century. It's the 22nd century. They should make it sound futuristic.
Welcome to the wonderful world of Coaxium.
Yeah, exactly. What about the environmental effects of Coaxium? Shut up, kid.
I would if they just started putting Coaxium in every Star Wars thing. I think that would be fun. If they just really leaned into it, and they were just every single project, it's got to have Coaxium in it at some point. Like these are the new lightsabers.
Right.
Yeah,
we don't have to have lightsabers.
Yeah,
it's also it'd be a very easy thing to just change the name of that section of the park to Coaxium's Edge.
There you go. Well, it's like the corporate naming rights, right? Like Coaxium's Edge, and then they get a couple, they get money from the Sinclair Coaxium company, and then a couple of years later, when they're not, a little shift in the marketplace, maybe some kind of crypto company or something buys the naming rights.
What's the name of that new hotel they have?
Oh my gosh, what is it?
I want to say
Star
the Princess,
Cruiser?
the Galactic Star Cruiser.
That sounds so generic. Oh, Boba Fett Star Cruiser. That's
Halcyon.
Halcyon, that's the
Halcyon is the name of the ship, I think.
But that's not how they market it, right? They don't
I think
say
they just sell it as Galactic Star Cruiser.
just Galactic Star Cruiser. That's so generic. Anyway, all right.
Anyway,
brought to you by Coaxium is my point. So Enfys Nest has decided that Enfys Nest has had enough.
Yeah,
Enfys Nest is watching all this, and then Enfys Nest says, "Enough!"
Enough. I'm going in. And I was trying to think of any time that I've said that. It is usually quite the opposite. It's usually enough. I'll see you later.
I'm going in.
Yeah.
I'm going inside.
In,
leave me alone.
Inside, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go play some video games.
What specifically has Enfys Nest had enough of? Them goofing around? Is Enfys Nest mad that the Marauders aren't doing their job? Are they doing it badly? What's the specifically what is getting Enfys Nest angry?
It's a great question, because Enfys also just showed up, very recently shed up. It has not been that much time has passed.
Yeah, I think it was literally a minute or a minute and a half ago.
Yeah, very short fuse, ready to go.
Yeah.
Come on. All right, fine, enough. All right, I'm going to do it. Everybody's whoa, chill.
Beforehand, there's a meeting where one of them Enfys, can I at least try to do it myself? And then Enfys is all right, I'll give you one chance. And so on. You guys go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that. What do you guys think about Enfys Nest in general as a character, as a general?
I mean, both as a design and as a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk about it. I like the design. I think the design is really cool. I think this time I noticed how silly the voice was.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds a lot. I want to say yes, the show. I want to say up top, I like this movie for the most part a lot. I really enjoy it, and I think it got a bad reputation because a lot of marketing stuff, and I think it got released too soon. All the obvious stuff, whatever. But I think the voice sounds a lot like later Batman, where it's just it gets so gravelly and distorted that because they're obviously trying to hide the reveal later. I think that's the silliest thing. I wish we saw more Enfys, or I hope we see more Enfys Nest down the line. I think it's a cool character. I think that world that they're in is fun. I mean, when you said that you think Val maybe was joining up with Enfys Nest or whatever, faking the death, everything. Imagine how exciting that reveal would be at the end when they take the mask off and it's the local villager person, except it's Val.
Right.
That's what I was thinking about. That'd be fun.
Oh, wait, so Val is Enfys Nest?
No. Remember, I mean, listen, I'm scooping ahead to the end of the movie right now. When they're doing the triple fake out and then they take the mask off of the person, it's Val under the mask. That's what I'm picturing.
Okay, got it.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know.
Alternate world.
Yep.
I like it.
What this movie needs is another twist at the end.
Another reveal. Yeah.
There were a handful of things that it seemed like originally they had thrown in to seed future projects, and that would be a good one like that. Like this, there was no. Don't tell the oil company, but there was no Coaxium in the heist originally. They were they were trying to spring a dangerous criminal I think for Crimson or for another gang, and there was some like they were just basically gonna like have them get through this, and then down the road in Solo 2 or 3, that gang that they helped out here was gonna come back,
Sure,
and be like, "Gotcha, kid," like we're on your side, like, so throwing Val into the mix of having Val fake her death and show up with Enfys gang would be totally in that. If they made a Solo 2, or if they down the road if they if any of this comes back in the Lando series, which is theoretically still happening.
We'll see.
Yeah, it does sort of feel like this movie had bad luck in both directions. That it both was released slightly too soon. When it would have probably been a big Christmas hit if they'd waited till Christmas, and that would have been the Star Wars Christmas movie. But also it feels like if this came out now on Disney Plus, that people would be much more excited. Like, we want to see more of it, because like even if this was just released as 4 episodes of like a Solo series or something, it does feel like so much of the movie is doing a good job of building a world that people would have wanted to revisit if this was being thrown into the mix at this point in the Star Wars world.
Yeah. I mean, even breaking it down to, so far, what is it, minute? I'm looking 36. At the 28, I think, is where they, like, basically the first half hour, it takes, at the end of the first half hour, they get off, Han Solo ends up with Beckett and his crew. So you have a new act right there. So that it totally could have been, we'll have to take a look at minute 60 or so to see if there's another act break there. So this could totally have been broken down into chunks.
Yeah. I hope they do more stuff in the future, though. I mean, you were mentioning the Lando show, which seemingly has gone radio silent ever since they announced it. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I hope they show up more. Everyone was really online was pining for Kira in that Boba Fett show, and I was shocked by how much like enthusiasm the internet had, where they were like, "We really want Kira back. We want Kira back for this." So I hope they see that and do more stuff in that time frame. Although I feel like Alden's gonna age out of it, maybe, because I feel like he's probably pretty close to what Harrison actually was in New Hope, right? At this point.
Yeah. I mean, if he was,
possibly,
I think he was like 27 or something when they did this.
Yeah.
And this was now 4 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, all they have to show is the accident that happened that turned him from one kind of attractive man into a completely different kind of attractive man. Like, the bad news is that you've been completely disfigured. The good news is that, like, it really was fortunate. Like, you basically just, it's a lateral move. You're equally good looking. It's just totally different.
Right.
The only lingering effect was a small scar on and that's how he got the scar on his chin. The only unexplained thing about Han Solo.
It's like Eye of the Beholder. They unwrap his face and it's like, oh, all right, you actually look pretty good. And then except for that scar.
He's 32. Harrison was 35.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
I can't, at the time I just kind of nodded and agreed, but it was last week or the week before we were talking about how I think I feel like maybe they meant to get Ansel Elgort and then they got the names confused, because he does look a little like, I was watching the new West Side Story the other day and he looks kind of like the old Kenner Han Solo action figure.
Sure.
Which
and
head?
I was like, oh, all right. I think the bigger head. I don't know.
The more common one.
Yeah.
Would that it were so simple.
And I was like, well, maybe did they signed him up and they're like, hey, I got that guy you were talking about for the Solo movie.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait a minute.
Well, dodged a bullet there.
Yeah.
Everyone wins.
I think. Do you think people will be upset if they recast it? All the Alden Ehrenreich fans are like, no way, man, it's not Han Solo if it's not him. So
like we said, everything gets everything's going to find its. You're going to find the people who are nostalgic about it after time, no matter what. Yeah. I mean, look at the excitement for Hayden Christensen returning. Whereas if you had said that 20 years ago, people would be like, what are you talking about? Get that guy out of here. But
what are you talking about?
Everybody's exactly. People have been like, they've realized that it's not really It's not that he ruined anything. Obviously, he was working with what he was given, and so now I think same thing. I hope that the brunt of the like we said, marketing failures, business failures that made Solo not as successful as they wanted to be don't fall down on the heads of the people involved.
There is somebody out there in the world who is really pining to see a scene between this version of Han Solo and the CGI Mark Hamill version of Luke Skywalker.
Oh, wow.
Like, there is someone out there who's just like, I just want to see my two favorite versions of these characters interact.
Well, yeah, you got the deep fake Luke Skywalker from
and the Aaron Reich Solo,
and the Aaron Reich
just
Solo,
like,
and the CGI Leia from the end of New Hope. You can have I mean, the end of Rogue
One. So wait, Connor, you think someone's favorite Luke Skywalker is Mandalorian deepfake? Okay.
There's always somebody. And there's one person out there who's like, look, the creepy cult leader, Luke Skywalker, and a slightly aged up Aaron Reich version of Solo would be really great.
Yeah, it's like you hear people who were like, yeah, the way I got into Star Wars was through playing the Pod Racer game, and that's how I got into Star Wars. So theoretically, someone's first experience of Star Wars could be The Mandalorian, and that's the only Luke they know. So
and then they go back
and they watch the weird old one where he's just like walking around, looks like they just filmed a person.
Man, movies are just so weird in the 70s.
They're probably like there are people out there whose favorite James Bond is probably George Lazenby. The guy who did it once. There probably is somebody out there who's like, that's my James Bond. And what a shame that he only did one movie, It's a big world.
Eventually you'll be able to pick like almost like a menu, like which Luke Skywalker do you want in your version of Star Wars? Oh, I want Mandalorian CGI Luke Skywalker or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I want Rebels Leia, Mandalorian Luke.
Yeah.
Let's go holiday special Chewbacca.
Kurt Russell Han Solo.
Yes.
If only.
Declan Mulholland, Jabba the
Hutt.
Right. The Mulholland cut.
Yeah.
So Woody Harrelson gets into a fight here with Enfys Nest. The Enfys Nest lands on top of the train and got those cool bulletproof or laser-proof armor. We don't see that very often. I guess Beskar is generally the only time you ever see armor being able to repel blaster fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also, Enfys jump. I'm rewinding and fast forwarding just back and forth on Emphys's jump from the I don't know what you want to call it, a swoop bike, speeder bike, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
A very lucky jump, just makes it.
Lucky or
what?
Like, or she's done this 1,000 times. Yeah,
right.
Yes. Yeah. But a very, very good jump on Emphys's part.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good and engaging fight. This movie's shot really well. I know people complained about how dark it is at a lot of points, but I just think it looks so cool throughout the whole thing, and especially this scene. I like it a lot.
Well, now that we're taking advantage of all the bright reflective snow, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely times where it's just it's a little bit too muddy. It's a little bit too too hard to see what's going on.
Sure.
Especially I've said before, the first time I saw it was at a drive-in, and I was like, because it was like just barely getting dark, and I was like,
you hadn't realized the film actually started yet.
Yeah, exactly.
What a fascinating way to see it for the first time.
But I saw the original Star Wars at a drive-in when I was like 2, so I was trying to recreate that.
You did not have any choice over that. This was your choice. You chose this. You were totally helpless.
I foisted it on my kids. I brought my kids, so this was their first Star Wars in the theater at a drive-in.
And thus,
I
curse
thought
of the father.
For Star Wars.
No. Come on.
They could be the Alden kids, the kids who love Alden and only Alden.
That's how I refer to them. I'm like, bring the Alden kids up here to have their dinner.
Bring all dead kids up here.
looking at, in some ways, we're by the time Solo comes out, we're sort of accustomed to what's possible visually in terms of like visual effects in movies in a way that we're not nobody watched Solo and was dazzled by the effects. They've sort of been normalized. But I'm struck really looking at it how just looking at the way this train heist sequence looks visually, if there had been anything that looked like this in the original 3 movies that were released, it would be the thing that would have been like the most exciting part of any of those movies if that had existed at that time.
Mm-hmm.
It's really excitingly shot in a way that's completely conventional now. It's not groundbreaking anymore. But I was trying to put myself in the mindset of, what if if it had been possible to show this to me in like 1979, I would have been like, oh my goodness, like this looks even more thrilling than the Death Star attack or something. It's just like, but in some ways, one of the things that I like about this movie is that it's all become so normalized that it doesn't, it just feels like we're used to this world by now. And that's part of what I like about this one, is that it's sort of like we're so acclimated. I feel like the original ones were working within, they were figuring out how to make these. And then the prequels went so far in the other direction that it didn't look like the same universe. And by the time you get to this place, I feel like they're doing a good job of making things look worn and lived in like the originals, but they're utilizing the new technology the way the prequels sort of, they're using the advancement in things, and it's kind of landing right in the middle where it just looks like it's real to me. Like, I don't even look at it and think of it as like, oh, this is like a special effect. Like when you look at some of the stuff in the original trilogy, or certainly most of the prequel trilogy, I'm very aware of like, these are new effects.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's almost, I'm like gun shy, I think, because it would almost go the other way. There's a character coming up later that, and I've talked about this before, but I was so, when I saw the movie, it was sun had gone down by this point, so I was able to see what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a character sitting at when they're playing Han Solo card game. There's a character sitting at the table, and I'm just like, they had to throw in another like CGI alien. And then at Celebration, a year or two later, we were at a panel and learned that is not a CGI creature. It's an animatronic head, computerized, like mechanized, like they took out the head and held it in front of me, and I saw it with my own eyes moving and reacting, and I was just like, oh man,
it's a mask, even more impressively.
That somebody could where you could just put it on your head and it's still moving around, and that, like, I questioned my whole, I was like, wow, the prequels really did a number on me, because I was just like rolling my eyes at like, oh, look at this. Like, instead of being wowed by the magic, I was just like, oh, more CGI creatures. And now I'm wowed by the magic again, because I'm like, well,
panels, those panels are the coolest panels from Celebration. I've never been to Celebration. I've only like watched whatever is online.
You should go.
That may be changing this year. We'll see. But I imagine everyone listening to this has seen these panels, but the ones that they've done the past couple Celebrations that are like the creature effects ones, where they like bring out the robots and stuff, it's so cool. And it's so like, everything they bring out, you're like, how is this possible? How are they able to make this look so real in front of you without any digital altering? They may touch it up in the movies, but even when it comes out on the stage, you're like, this is insane that we're at this point in the world, and it can fool you or fool a lot of people who, I don't know. It's cool.
Because BB-8 was kind of the harbinger of that, because BB-8 came out, we were all like, oh, we assumed it was all CGI, and then rolls out on the stage and everyone's like, what? So getting back to your telling yourself in 1979 about this movie, or showing yourself in 1979. I also love the idea of you then explaining to your 1979-year-old self that this film actually failed because people were just sick of so much Star Wars. You'd be like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
So I love, because it would have been like Star Wars, and then the holiday special, then this, and then you'd still have everything else to look forward to. You'd be like, what?
Yeah, honestly, if you could take this movie back to 1979 and tell people it didn't do well, everyone would be like, why? It's the best one.
Yeah.
Everyone would be like, because it contains within it so many innovations of several decades, not just of special effects, but even just in terms of like pacing and storytelling. Like, it would have blown everyone's minds in a way that by the time it actually came out, we're all just used to these gradual changes. But there are probably just things even on a narrative level that don't seem innovative because they're borrowing from every film and TV show we've experienced. There's probably small ways in which, we can't even track how like, oh, the Sopranos maybe affected the way this works, or who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even. I still, much like in our reality, everybody would still be confused by the like, what's up with the guy with the horns at the end and the lightsaber? What was going on there? But
when
still.
Woody shows up on Cheers,
Right.
people would not forever be referring to him as Woody from Cheers. It would be, oh, that's Tobias Beckett from Solo. We saw him a couple years ago.
Yeah,
he looks great now. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks much better on TV.
Yeah.
That's right. People would not be saying like, "Is this guy going to be as good as Coach?" Because they'd be like, "No, this is a big deal. He's in a Star Wars."
How'd they land him?
Yeah.
They'd be surprised that he can do comedy.
Right.
I guess he does. I guess he's kind of funny in this.
He's kind of funny, but
yeah.
No, he's not Woody funny.
No.
While we're going back to Enfys Nest for a second, you mentioned her kind of blast deflecting shielding, and that and her weapon. It's a little too wizardy for me. Her weapon is a little too wizard staff, and her stuff is a little too.
It's funny that they finally got rid of lightsabers, and yet they had to come back to someone fighting with a stick. You know what I mean? Like they finally could just have a good old fashioned gunfight, but no, they had to. Oh, you know what? Let's have that not work. So,
but I think her weapon looks a lot like General Grievous's guy. What are they? The Magna Guards? Is that what they're called?
Yeah,
they kind of look like those. So it's like not that far off.
She was raised by Magna Guards.
Do you think the Magna Guards look like wizards?
Robot wizards, which is that brings them back into the sci-fi sphere, which I'm happy about. Like,
I don't know. I feel like in both of the Ewok movies, we saw a fair amount of witchcraft and wizardry.
Yeah.
And I always like it when there's a little bit of anything that makes me feel like, this is sort of like I could see this happen on Endor.
That's the Endor test.
Right.
Yeah.
Enfys Nest showed up with a cloud of Wisties, and then everybody was like, oh, okay. I like this more now.
Yeah, like if someone turns into a bird, I'm like, I've seen that before in Star Wars.
Yeah, there you go.
Pete, I know you've considered watching the Clone Wars before, but there is a lot of magic in the Clone Wars, and I don't mean the magic of Hollywood. I mean like witches and Darth Maul comes from a race of wizards and witches and stuff. It's
I'm gonna say this. It's kind of insane that you have not watched it at this point.
I was somewhat open to it, but Alex recently slammed the door shut by telling me that they fly around with their spinning lightsabers, and I was like, "Oh, that's
not in Clone Wars.
And
that's in
Rebels.
Rebels.
Oh, that's in Rebels. Okay,
that's
all right.
More of a Rebels thing.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the other thing is I tend to get them confused. So maybe, who knows? Maybe I'm throwing some babies
crazy
out with
that
my
after
bathwater,
1,000 years with lightsabers, the Jedi didn't do anything with it other than be swords. Like the Sith in their short time had a lot of crazy innovations. Double ones, switchblade type ones, helicopter lightsabers.
Little curvy ones.
Curvy ones.
Yeah.
Curvy hilts. It's disappointing.
Well, I will. All right. So door is closed on Rebels, but I will I don't know. I will add
still magic
Clone
in
Wars
it.
back into my possibility realm.
But Clone Wars is a gateway show. You might have thought you closed the door to Rebels, but you start watching those Clone Wars. There's probably you'll probably find yourself watching Rebels.
And I'll say this: Rebels is better than Clone Wars.
Oh, shots fired! Shots fired!
I think shot for shot, pound for pound, the hit rate on Rebels is higher than the hit rate on Clone Wars. That's my take. I don't think that's that hot of a take.
That's what I've been told, but then that makes me since the things that I have seen that I don't like mostly seem to come from Rebels. I'm like, well, if that's the better one, what am I doing?
I've watched some of Rebels and very little of Clone Wars.
Which Which show? I think it had to be Clone Wars. Or which show has Jar Jar and C-3PO on the planet of the Greedos?
That's Clone Wars, baby. That's Clone Wars. Yeah, that rules.
But
because really Clone Wars.
The one you got to start with is Resistance.
Oh man.
Oh wait. Am I thinking is Resistance the one? Which one am I thinking of?
You're probably thinking of Resistance.
Could be.
Is Resistance the one that's more recent?
Yeah.
That's the one that's like line animation as opposed to.
Yeah, that's the one. That's one. So I've seen none of Rebels. I've seen Resistance. Yeah.
You watched all of Resistance?
No, I watched some of it.
No,
it was good. I liked it.
I don't think a single person has watched every single episode of Resistance.
Well, except for that. Oh.
Wow. Oh wow, I hate to be the guy. I hate to be the guy. I watched it all.
Did you like it?
By the end, I was on board.
Yeah.
There's stuff towards the end that I really like.
Yeah. I've heard it's better for younger kids because Clone Wars and Rebels they're very young adult as opposed to kid, friendly.
I have a resistance towards that style of animation, which always to me looks like, oh, you aren't finished. It always looks like an animatic to me where it's like, oh, I can't wait to see what this looks like when you're done. Right. Oh, you're done? Oh, well, I'll see you later.
Damn.
Although now that I'm thinking about it, I am probably most likely to watch Resistance because A, I do have young kids, and B, like it's not. I think part of what gets to me is it's the bogging down by continuity that happens with the Clone Wars and Rebel stuff. So maybe I'll check out Resistance.
Wow,
check it out.
I'll keep an eye out for I like to talk about her whenever I can, but there's a character named after me in that era, so. There's Pete the Retalia, the Resistance tech, who serviced Poe Dameron's ship and BB-8 and stuff like that. So,
what are they a character in?
She is in one of our mutual friend Chris Eliopoulos did a backup story in Poe Dameron. The Poe Dameron, I think Poe Dameron #1, the backup story.
Yeah.
Had a droid
That's rad.
tail, and Pete was in that, and then got mentioned. They spun off of that, and there's the Poe Dameron flight log, which has, a bunch of little snippets about it's basically like in-universe kind of collection of data output and like journal entries about Poe's career. And one of the things was a report from Peter Italia about Poe's servicing his X-Wing and saying like, oh, look out for BB-8 or something like that. Like,
that's great. That's right.
So two points of continuity, I think. And so now I'm always looking for her somewhere.
I mean, that's the dream. Getting the character named after you is the dream. Alex, if you had to get a character, what is the character you want? Sorry to hijack the end of this episode.
It's all right.
He's got a planet.
There's a planet named after me, which is not as exciting, admittedly.
It's still cool.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not going to complain.
You think your planet's going to get blown up? Because that's famously the thing that most commonly happens to planets in Star Wars. They get completely destroyed.
I would be fine with that because so far it's a very limited number that have been completely destroyed. So it would be an elite group that I would be in. Better to do it now than like when 100 planets have already been destroyed.
Let me ask, what's the terrain like on your planet?
Oh, rocky, desolate.
Okay.
do not want to go there.
Are you and Jon Stewart the only two real people to have planets named after them?
I cannot imagine that being true.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of...
I mean, Pablo Hidalgo every single person he's ever met must be immortalized in somewhere in everything. So there have to be more.
Okay.
But, yeah. I'll say yes, though. I'm the only planet there is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's all I got for minute number 36.
Yeah, me too. Do you guys have anything else for 36, or should we table it? I've got some definitely got some more notes about Coaxium and Val's fake death for tomorrow. So if you guys can come back tomorrow, I'd like to keep talking about that with you guys.
Love to come back tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. Well, see what you can do.
It's a commitment. Committed. We heard it. He said yes.
All right. I said I guess.
Gotta come back.
Hey, here's something that we don't talk about enough, and is that is our, as far as I know, still fully operational PO box. I got to check with Adam to make sure that I didn't miss a renewal notice or something. But hey, send us some stuff. There was a little while where people were sending us Twizzlers. I liked that. So go send stuff to Star Wars Minute, P.O. Box 20139, Greedo Square Station, New York, 10001. And we like your mail. The thing is, we do every once in a while, we used to do a mail special, like a mailbox, mail bag special, but we do it on the Patreon. So people didn't hear it unless they were already supporting us. But maybe we should do a public mail special at some point. People send us some mail. don't sign us up for junk mail though. We got enough of that. But
If put any ideas in their heads.
yeah, I know. And
Do not send us anthrax. Please do not send us anthrax.
Or anvils. Remember that the Super Ego had the problem with anvils. Oh no, it was Pistol Shrimps Radio had a problem with anvils for a while. Don't send, because then it's got to go to New York, and then Adam's got to send it to me over here in California. Don't just letters and Twizzlers. That's all I want. So
if you send anvils though, Connor and I are in New York, and we'll gladly take the anvils. So if he wants to drop them off at our house, we'll take them.
There you go. So send your anvils to Star Wars Minute to George Lucas Talk Show, care of Star Wars Minute, P.O. Box 20139,
no
Burrito Square
CODs,
Station,
please.
New York. And then Adam will just get on the subway and take him to you guys. And then hopefully he'll be back in time for tomorrow's episode of Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.